Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to be showing a comparison between programming in Python and programming in Java. On the left hand side of the screen I'm using PyCharm to actually code the Python and execute it. On the right I'm using IntelliJ. PyCharm and IntelliJ are just IDEs, and basically IDEs are just environments in which you can code in and execute. IDEs also offer support for different things and hints and tips when coding, such as auto-completion, debugging, etc. I have got videos in installing PyCharm and IntelliJ, so if you want to go and watch them, the links for them will be in the description. I just go through the tutorials of how to install them and the purposes of them and the advantages. So if you haven't seen PyCharm before or IntelliJ and you like to use Java, then I recommend you go and download these two applications. Very useful and just overall make my life easier. On the left hand side I've got a Python file called guessinggame.py because we're going to create a simple guessing game, and it's a text-based game. So once this game's completed, you'll be able to give this code to someone, or if you've got a laptop and you execute it and you give it to a family member, the laptop, they can play the game, and all they have to do is enter a number between 1 and 10, and if they guess it right, because in the background the computer and the code is going to be randomly generating a number between 1 and 10. So if they guess 5 and the number that was randomly generated is 5, then they've won. And basically the purpose of the game is to guess the number that's randomly generated in the least amount of tries. So on Python, let's get started. I'm going to import random. And basically importing random is like importing a library, so it allows us to actually generate a random number in Python. So random num is a variable that we've created, and we need to set this to a random number. So random.randomInt for random integer, and then a range between 1 and 10. Let's go over to Java. And inside public static void main, so if you're not familiar with Java, when you create a main.java file, now it doesn't matter if you don't call it main, it doesn't really matter, but most files with Java, there'll be a main file. IntelliJ automatically creates public class main and public static void, so you don't need to worry about that. All you need to do is type your code between the public static void main curly braces, and if you click on the last one, the starting one highlights, so you know where to actually type. Here we need a scanner, so scanner input, and as you can see on line 1, it's actually automatically imported a scanner. And basically in Java, a scanner is what allows us to accept inputs from users. Java is very case sensitive, so all the capital S's I'm using are very important. Next we need to do random, so we declare random variable, rand guess is equal to new random. So essentially we just basically created the random number here. We need to also declare a variable for the random number in Java, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a variable in Python. The variable in Python is going to be the number of tries, because we need to keep a count of how many tries a user has. If they have 1 try, then that's very good. I mean, you can't get better than that. But if you have like 50 tries, then that's, even though that's theoretically impossible because we're only guessing between 1 and 10, I think you get the idea. So we need to keep a track of the tries. And in Python, all you have to do is type tries equals 1. Sorry, tries equals 0, because when you start the game, the user will have 0 tries. But on Java, you need to type int for integer, because an integer is just a whole number. Tries equals 0. So you can see how similar sort of they are. The few reasons I like Python is because of how similar to English it actually is compared to Java, and there's a lot less code. So now let's create an integer in Java. Random num is equal to rand guess dot next int 10 and plus 1. So it's come up with bound here, but you can just ignore that. When I type 10 between the brackets in here, we need to add 1 on the outside of the brackets, because programming languages are 0 based, and what I mean by 0 based is they count from 0. So if you get your hand and you want to count from 0 to 5, if you go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can only fit 0 to 4 on your, including your thumb and fingers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0 is counted as 1. So that's why we need to cater for that and add 1 if we want to include 10. So that's that done. So I'm going to just close that off with a semicolon. Then we need to declare the guess. So int guess, because the guess is going to be an integer, because they can't type a string. It wouldn't really make sense. On Python, we need to, let's see, what do we need? Oh yeah, the flag. And what I mean by flag is, a flag will change depending on a condition. So we're going to set win to false because they haven't won the game straight away. The same thing over here, to declare the same thing is boolean win is equal to false. And if you notice the differences, on Python you don't need to declare what type of variable it is, and it's a capital F. On Java it's a lowercase f. So let's get started with the actual game now. So if I add a few more spaces, space it out a little bit on the Java, we're going to system.out.print. So we're printing a message. Print NL means print new line. Then we're going to say guess a number between I can't type, 1 and let's just zoom out a little bit here, move the thing over, there we go. Sorry if the text is quite small. So system.out.println, guess a number between 1 and 10. So basically we're just sending a message to the user. Let me zoom in a little bit and then I can move over for you. There we go, that looks better. So system.out, let's do the same for Python. So print, all you have to type is print for Python. Print guess a number between 1 and 10. So that's it for Python. Let's just move this window over a little bit more, because on this left hand side of IntelliJ is only the file structure. We don't really need to see, that's not that important. Same over here. So guess a number between 1 and 10. So we've just done the same thing but in 2 different programming languages. Then in Python we need to actually start coding the logic. So while not win, so if you type while not win and then a semicolon, sorry, a colon, guess is equal to int and input. So what we're saying here is, while the win is not true, then run whatever code we put in the while loop. So the win, we've set the win to false, so the win's always going to be false when they run the code. And while it's not true, which makes it false because we set it to false, it's going to run the code for the game. So, and then it's going to ask for the input. So the guess is equal to int input because it's an integer and we're accepting an input. Then we need to add the tries and we need to increment them. So increment it by 1 by just doing tries equals tries plus 1. We're setting a new variable, even though it's got the same name, we're making it equal to tries, which is 0, and then we're adding 1 to it. So 0 plus 1 is 1, that's going to count as the first try. Let's do the same for Java over here. So while, and then exclamation mark win. Then we need to add curly braces. So if I space these out, now we should have like 3 on your code. Oh, didn't want to delete that. So while not win, let's add this to a second line here. So while not win, and we set win to false. So what's basically happening here is, while the win is not true, it's the same thing over here. While win is not true, then run the while loop. And then once the condition's been met, and so what I mean by that is when the guess is equal to the random number that's generated, then we set the flag to true, which will make the code exit the while loop, and then we can display a message saying congratulations, you guessed it. So guess is what did we declare as guess? So as you can see up here, we declare guess as an integer, and we're going to use that now. So if we go up to this line and guess, make sure in Java it's a capital G because we declared it as a capital G up here for guess. Guess is equal to input dot next int tries, And to increment tries, you just do plus plus and then a semicolon. So guess equals input dot next line, and we've incremented tries. Then what we need to do is we need to say if the guess, and make sure you put them in brackets. So if guess is equal to the random number, this is where we can actually change the flag now. And we need more curly braces every time we use an if statement, we need them. Then you can do win is equal to, the win is equal to true. We set that flag to true now, so true. Then we need to do the other three conditions. As you can see, the highlight is gone now because we've set it to true because the conditions have been met. If you don't meet the condition, then the while loop's just going to continue on forever, using up too much space, and it's just, there's no point. So I'm going to copy the condition of the equal sign now 3 times. So let's go back to Python, catch up a little bit here. So while not win, guess is equal to the input, tries equals tries plus 1. If the guess, and you don't need brackets at all on this one, if the guess is equal to rand num, win is equal to true. Make sure you use a capital T, sorry. So win, so we basically just typed this line. We've literally just said if the guess, so if the guess 5 is equal to the random number of 5, then the win is true. So that makes us go outside this while loop. We need elif. So this is else if, which I'll go back to the Java code in a second and fix it. So elif, so else if the guess is less than the random num, then we need to print out that they need to guess higher, sort of given like a hint. So guess higher, and then we can just copy this and reverse it. So paste that there. We want the indentation correct, and we flip the sign and then change higher to lower. So if they guess 10 and the random number generated is 1, it'll say guess lower, and it'll keep doing that until you guess the number correctly. Let's go back to Java and change this if. So we need to do else if. So else if, as you can see, in Python it's elif, in Java it's just else if. Now it's giving me a few errors because we haven't actually changed the code, so change the equal sign. And I forgot to mention that the equal sign here and the equal sign here, that means equal to. So 5 is equal to 5. It's the magnitude of a number or a value. If hello is equal to hello, because they're both equal to, they're exactly the same thing, then do something. This equal sign on its own just means assign something to a variable, for example. Like we have up here, we assigned 0 to tries. But here we're saying if the guess is equal to the random number, then do something. Hopefully that makes sense. So now we can just change this to greater than, and then we need to change these. We don't want to set the win to true each time because that would make sense. System.out.print print nl, and then guess higher. Then we can just copy this, paste it underneath, and change this to guess lower. Now we've basically just done the whole game, but we need to find where the while loop ends, and it's this one. That's what's useful about like these IDEs, because we can find where the while loop starts. So this is the end of the while loop here. And if the condition's met, so say the first guess is correct, they guess the number correctly, we set the flag to true. So then this while loop is no longer going to be run because the win is set to true, and this means while the win is not true, but the win is going to be true. So it's not going to use the while loop, it's going to exit the while loop. And so once it's exited, we know they've won the game. So all you have to do is, you can just paste a system.out.println, but this time we can change it and say congrats, you guessed correctly. And then underneath this we can say the number of tries. So if you have like a brother or sister or friend, it doesn't really matter. If you have loads of friends, you can just see who gets the least amount of guesses, or should say least amount of tries. So number of tries, and then if we concatenate, so to concatenate into a plus sign, so if I just zoom in down here and move it along, A concatenation is a plus sign. So we are concatenating tries. Tries is a variable of an integer. So this is just a string that says number of tries, and then we're adding the number of tries, which is incremented by 1 each time they have a guess. Then I'm going to concatenate. I'm going to concatenate just a blank space. I've missed a few semicolons, so I'm just going to add them now. There we go. And that is basically the game done in Java. So let's finish it for Python. All we need to do now is outside the while loop, if win is true, and that's all you have to type for if the win is true, because while the win is not, this basically means while the win is not true, which just, you could say while the win is equal to false, but this is a different way of doing it. So if the win is true, then they've won. So all you have to do is give them a nice little message. Congrats, you guessed correctly. I can't even type correctly. Got it. My spelling's terrible. You guessed correctly. Then we can display the number of tries they've had. So print number of tries. We're essentially just saying the same thing we did for the Java version. Can add a semicolon, and then the concatenation is very similar, but on Python, if you type plus tries and then plus a space like I did down here, as you can see, it's throwing and getting an error because it says expected type string got int, because this is an integer and this is string. So the way to fix this is you need to do str converted to a string, like so, in brackets. So I think that's it now. So if I run this, that's the number between 1 and 10. 6, guess lower, 2. Oh, I guessed it. So 2 tries, that's not too bad. Let's run it on Java. So guess the number between 1 and 10. I'll guess 10. Guess lower, 1. Oh, I guessed it I guessed it twice. What was the chances of that? Let's just run it again. 6. Oh, I said 6, but guess 5. Stupid Windows update, sorry about that. So guess 5, guess lower, 2, guess higher, 3. There we go, 3 tries. Let's try once more on the Python version, and we'll guess 7. Oh, I guessed it in 1 try. That was a 1 in 10 chance. So I'm not doing too bad today. But that was it for the video. If it did help, please leave a like, comment, subscribe for future content, and I will see you in the next video.